Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, ça va? Ça va? Très bien, très bien. Welcome. Bonjour.
International episode.
Well, you know how we do.
Top of the top. We are in the motherland still. We had a great time in Benin.
Yes.
Shout out to the team out there. Appreciate everybody. And we are currently in Ivory Coast, better known as Cote d'Ivoire.
Yes. See that? You heard it. You heard him.
So you're
working on it. You know what I'm saying? You thought it was just Spanish. Nah, man. It's everything.
We out here, before InvestFest. So, yeah, we out here. We could talk about it later on if you guys are interested. But big week for EYL. Blackout.
Yep.
Of course. We never miss Market Mondays, never miss Blackout, no matter what. So tune in to Blackout. That's going to be a good one. We 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And then Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we got a crypto edition.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yes, sir. That's going to drop at 9 o'clock, right? 9 o'clock live.
Yep.
Make sure you check it out. Austin.
Yeah, Austin Hayes, man.
From our crypto division at EY University.
Yeah, one of the brightest minds in the world of crypto that I've ever encountered. Just somebody who was a student of the game, watched every episode of Market Mondays, transcribed every episode of Market Mondays, and really found himself deep inside of research inside the cryptocurrency space. And so he is a wizard, man. He pays attention to detail, and his research is it's immaculate. He's different. Now I do research, and then what he does, it's different. So y'all in for a treat. He's really good at this.
Yeah, for sure. So we got a lot to talk about. InvestFest right now. If you don't got your tickets, you played yourself.
What are you doing?
But it's still 3 weeks less. Of course, we got Magic Johnson, Jack Dorsey, Charlamagne God. We got AI. We got Ian Dunlap. We got 19 Keys going to be in the building. We're going to be talking about crypto. We got stocks. We got real estate, MG the mortgage guy, BlackRock, Fidelity, State Farm, Block.
Invest with Invesco.
QQQ.
Yes.
Great place to network. Great place to entrepreneurs to have vendors. We got Food Truck Village.
Yep.
We're going to start on all day Friday, be there Thursday, get your passes all day Friday. We got activations, we got book signings, we got VIP night. Carlos Miller will be doing a stand-up comedy show, 85 South comedy show on Saturday, satellite event.
How to scale your business.
And we got some friends. We got some friends that'll be in attendance for InvestFest. So make sure that y'all there on time every day.
Early. For the NIL panel, we have Flaw J will be on the NIL panel. Somebody that's actually going through it right now, made millions of dollars while still in college. So she's going to speak from a firsthand experience. And we got a bunch of other people. D. Smith used to be the head of the Players Union. Y'all going to have to try harder with the narratives. We got celebrities. We got investors.
We tired. You be like,
look, now, man.
It ain't working.
I got a wise lesson from a wise woman this weekend. Just ignore it.
Shout out to Lauren Hill.
Just ignore it. She said, "Look,
elevate.
It's like a sensei, right? If they walk up to you and you're inexperienced, they know every pain point, so they're gonna keep pushing it until you build a defense to where it no longer matters. Either you have a guard for it or it doesn't bother you, and that's how you got to treat life."
Shout out to Lauren Hill. Man, legendary situation. So get the tickets to InvestFest, Ian, any announcements?
Stock Club call will be this Wednesday. Check Telegram for the time. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. When I was important, Troy, to your point, I didn't get to pick up on everything you said. One thing Benito did say when he was coming up, 99% of people counted him out, and he just kept focused on executing and catering to his audience, and that's why he is where he is today.
The mission is bigger than us.
Yep.
Before I go any further, there's another Leo, the most important Leo of my life. My mom, her birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, Mama.
Happy birthday, Mama.
The most selfless, the most beautiful, just an amazing person and an amazing mother. She's watching right now. Happy birthday, Mom. Don't worry, I will be back with a birthday celebration. Shout out to my mom, man.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Another Leo.
Okay.
All right, here goes this.
Ian, any announcement? Did you make an announcement? You said no?
Call. I'm ready for InvestFest. How y'all feel about InvestFest? Y'all excited? Y'all nervous? Combination?
I don't know if nervous is the word anymore. I'm more anticipating the people coming to see it. I like the first timers. I love the first timers. I love walking into them, seeing them, because they're experiencing something that they've never felt before. I love our veterans who come back and say, I saw you last year. I'm like, yo, let's take another picture. Every year we got a tradition now. Let's just take a picture. I'm excited for the people. I know we've done everything we could to make sure that this is the best year ever. And I just can't wait to deliver.
Yeah. Rashad for the psychos too. Every year, a little motivation for us right before. It's like, what this newspaper material, bulletin board material.
That's a fact,
bro. Okay,
that's a fact.
You saw Bad Bunny, you got to change the whole show. Gotcha.
That's a fact.
You got any words for them? For those people?
Chew up Lauryn Hill. We had to. You never know.
You never know. I said,
you never know.
With Nas 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
Or the new "If I Rule the World."
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. It sounds like pinch yourself. Like, where am I? Like, how did this happen? As you're in the moment. But yeah, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in detail.
So
yeah. Disclaimer, you know how this works, man. Do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important that you do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. Continue to do the research, share the research, give credit when you find the research, show love, spread love, build community. Let's build our brokerage accounts. Let's build wealth. Love.
Let's build wealth.
Yeah.
For a long time.
So let's talk about it. So let's actually start out with some international investing conversation, since we are in Africa and we got to thank the good folks of Benin. But this is interesting from a business standpoint. So we actually met with the president of Benin, and very gracious with his time. And he, well, we knew this before, but we met with a few different people from their administration. They have a program that allows people of African descent to have citizenship. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want to attract more foreign investment, specifically Black American investment into the country. So, you know, Market Mondays is a show that we talk about stocks and stuff like that a lot, but a lot of times people are interested in other forms. So I think it's good to kind of keep them abreast of what's going on internationally. And that, like I said, that was a high level conversation that we actually had with a president. Actually the first president that we've ever met with.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first head of state that we had a conversation with, and he was very big on that, as far as, like, you know, spreading the message, saying that, you know, this is something. And then he also said, like, okay, like, what are best practices when dealing on the continent, which we kind of went over before, as far as, like, do your due diligence, have a lawyer, make sure you know working with the right people, stuff like that. But
how do you know, if really quick, if they're the right people? Because there's so many people that are going to Africa and acting like they are an advocate for the continent. How do you filter out what's real versus what's fake?
Well, for me personally, I always like to see proof of concept. A lot of people say that they do something. And that's why even people that we work with, as far as Alvin and Kwame, like, we got to see their actual physical office, a physical newspaper that they print, right? A physical recording studio, a physical, like, these are things that, you know, to me, I feel like if you are somebody that's portraying yourself as doing something major, you should at least be able to show somebody something tangible, as opposed to just ideas. A lot of people will just spin ideas and words.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that, to me, that's that. And then, of course, you know, as far as, I'm old school, really. Like, I asked for referrals. That's how I was, like, you know what I mean? Like, I granted, we are in a little bit more, we're in a little bit more privileged situation because we have a lot of relationships. So, you know, we have the ability to, like, but no matter who you are, you can ask different people and network. And, you know, if 10 people have the same story about somebody, then that usually, good or bad, by the way, by the way, right? So that to me is something that I think is, and then also doing your own personal research. That's the good thing. That there's a lot of like, okay, for instance, if you want to buy real estate, right, in Nigeria, right, there's a lot of research that you can do yourself on even ChatGPT, asking it, okay,
GBT and Perplexity for sure.
What are the real estate laws? What are the property taxes? What's the biggest issues that are faced by real estate investors? Like, you know what I mean? So just like stocks, you know what I mean? You have to educate yourself. But man, as far as investing for investors, not only is I think everybody at this point knows that there's opportunity in Africa, right? That's pretty obvious. But they definitely, like countries like Benin and other countries, they're making it a main emphasis to target Black Americans.
Yeah, I mean, most of you probably saw Ciara here. Well, Ciara in Benin a week ago. You saw Ludacris and Gabon. Even Spike Lee has been named the ambassador to Benin. So you're starting to see the traction. I think everything Shadi said is 100% spot on. You ask, but you also become very observant. One of the things I like to do when we travel to foreign countries is I just look at signs, right? And if I look at developments, you start to see the same name over and over and over again. Now it's like, all right, well, those people are doing something, right? And if you ask around, you figure out who's government funded projects and who has private funding for their projects. And then you just start asking and start compiling, you start seeing names. Then you can kind of get a sense of like who's who, right? Like that proof of concept is important. We were just in Benin, and as I'm riding around, I'm seeing a billboard for a stadium. Okay, I saw the name. Okay, somebody is building an office building. All right, it's the same name. You start to put the pieces together, see who the movers and shakers inside of the private sector. And then obviously you ask around, and luckily for us, we have resources that we can talk to who's in government and what are the projects they're working on. But you got to be observant. A lot of times people get in their Uber, or they get in their car service, and they right into their phones. And you're missing everything that's you're driving past.
Talk to the driver and get their perspective on what's going on
locally. The drivers know, because they're going through those routes and they live in the areas. Obviously, they know the local governance of things that are happening. You got to be watch everything. Watch all the signs, watch all the billboards, because it could be telling you something.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to get that little. And then I will say one thing too, that where we're at right now is a little different because there is a language barrier.
Yes.
So you got to be aware of that too. Like, you know, these are the first countries that we went to where they actually speak French as primary language. So in Cote d'Ivoire and in Benin and, you know, a lot of other countries, they are French. They were former French colonies, so they speak French. So that's something to be aware of, right? There is a language barrier usually, you know, so knowing that as opposed to a country like Ghana, which is an English country, and Nigeria is an English country, and Kenya is an English country. And Rwanda used to be a French-speaking country, and they switched over to English. So that's important too. Knowing where you're going as far as stuff like that is nuanced, but it makes a big difference.
Which you can research in Perplexity, ChatGPT 04. If you ask for a thorough breakdown, edit, because I was looking last night. Yo, top out search for the. I said, wait, what happened to Lauren?
Yeah, we had that conversation about AI in the sense where that language barrier is soon going to be eradicated. Where we're going to have the agent where we translate on our chest, and it's a chip or it's a device, and it speaks in our language, and it converts it.
Or maybe you can I'm not gonna lie. Maybe.
Well, somebody's gonna do it. It's gonna happen in the next 3 to 5 years. But you can see how easy AI could step into a place that was, hey, what do we do here if I don't have a translator, right? I can't. I mean, people use Google Translate, but it's still through the phone. When you can actually use your voice and speak in your language and have it converted and it comes back to you, that's gonna be a game changer, man. I'm looking forward to that.
You guys are given a stat before about how young the continent is. Are there any companies that are not publicly traded, but you think will be in maybe 4 or 5 years or 10 years that you think will be a powerhouse that you've seen so far?
Well, one of the biggest countries in East Africa is called M-Pesa, and they actually do the mobile phone payment transfer. So they were real big. I think they actually came out even before Cash App. So it's a necessity as far as the technology in Africa a lot of times is a necessity. Meaning, if you live in a rural village, right, you might not have access to banks. Like the banking desert, like we talk about banking deserts in America, like there might be a 50-mile radius where there's not a physical bank. So that's why it became very important to kind of have that mobile payment processing component. And they actually been going crazy. They're all over the continent now. And then there's other companies similar to that. I think they're actually the biggest on the continent. But we actually went to their offices, their corporate headquarters, when we were in Kenya. And they was telling us the story of how they got started and stuff like that. But I had heard about them on 60 Minutes years ago. Okay. So that's just one company that, you know, like I said, we actually met but there's there's opportunities for technology all over the place because man, the world is moving so quick. And like you said, the population is so young that obviously the young people is going to be easier. It's easier for them to learn the technology, right? As opposed to trying to teach a generation that's 80 years old. So they're already open to the technology and they grew up on the technology as far as their phones and stuff like that. So their way of thinking, even crypto, you know, a lot of countries tried to ban crypto at first. Like I think Nigeria tried to ban it and they start their own, and then they realized like, you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So crypto is real big on the continent also. You know, you hear a lot of people talking about crypto, Bitcoin, stuff like that. So
yeah, I think it's publicly traded, but if you go anywhere in Africa, you're gonna see MTN. Like in terms of communication, in terms of internet service, it's everywhere, right? I'm even looking up right now. It says that they own 58% of the internet service here in Ivory Coast. They are everywhere. So if we're talking about connectivity, right? Think of it as your Verizon or your T-Mobile for
molded in one.
Every country that we've been in, especially Rwanda, we're now here. We've seen MTN, Ghana for sure. You see that yellow MTN everywhere. So that's a company with the expansion of technology throughout. I mean, it's a large continent. Like you said, the younger people are using it. They have mobile devices. MTN is one of those ones that's like, they're in prime position.
Yeah. And then from a legacy standpoint, United Bank of Africa, look at them as like a Chase-esque. Their stock has been doing great the last 4 or 5 years. So there are some international investments you could look at in Africa. I know we haven't talked about a lot of them, or they may not be well known, but there are a few companies there, I think, over the next 5 or 6 years, as the continent continues to scale in terms of capital that's coming in, that I think will be ripe for great growth over the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I saw something interesting. We were on a plane coming here today, and I'm sitting next to a gentleman, and he has his book out, and I looked, and it was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, wow. Like this is the beginning seeds of financial education. Like we all don't know that point when we discovered Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yep. And so think about where we were then, to see a gentleman sitting next to me on the plane, don't know him from anywhere, to see that that's the book that he has, he's reading. I was like, this is like the seeds are being planted here, and hopefully, you know, You Deserve to Be Rich to be his next book. But it's happening, and the population is ready for it.
Yes, sir. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's your dose of international exposure if you're interested for the day. Now let's talk about U.S. equities. Last week, when Trump won, the job report came out, and it wasn't to his liking, and stock market reacted negatively to that. Had pretty sharp pullback for the day.
That's
and
funny.
He fired.
You were about to lose your job.
He fired. What was the official title? Head of labor statistics.
I believe so. Yep.
It rallied back again today. So, but it's crazy because I saw one person on YouTube. No matter what you do, it's always going to be a critic. Like one person on YouTube was like, "Don't listen to these guys. Stock market is falling apart as we speak." This was on Friday. And I'm like, at this point, anybody that watches Market Mondays knows that when you see days like that, that's the opportunity for you to actually buy, right? You should actually be grateful for a pullback because that actually is a buying opportunity, right? But I mean, man, stock market's all-time highs. You have to have a pullback. It only makes sense. So for investors, I know a lot of investors was looking at that as an opportunity to maybe start, deploying some capital.
Yeah.
But is this a long-term problem? Like he did fire her. So, the statistics definitely.
Well, the original report came out and the numbers are low. And I think what did cause the firing was that they went back and revised June and they went back and revised May. And those numbers were completely off, which made it look a little bit more harsh, a little bit more grim from a jobs report standpoint. And so probably the reason that she lost her job. Not saying that it was the right course of action, but probably the reason. I think if you look at the date, Friday's date was August 1st. We've been telling you for the past 4 weeks, the worst month in terms of depreciation inside the stock market is in August. It has performed the worst. Now, you can look at that from both sides, right? If it's the worst of the month and there's depreciation, that means that stocks and equities and indexes and ETFs are going to be at prices that are going to be advantageous for you to buy, right? So for the person who's been in the market and it's long term, there's going to be some pullback in August. August 1st happens. He tells us that he's going to put the tariffs. The tariffs are going into effect. Is this a long-term scenario? I don't think so. I think it's part of the natural course. Like you said, when we see markets run to an all-time high, each index, the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, they all hit all-time high. They need to have a breather. We need to have a breather, right? The fact that we're having all these technology reportings, right? Microsoft went crazy, Meta went crazy, AMD is up this week. We'll see what they'll do. And we still know we got NVIDIA. We got a bunch literally this week. Their expectations have been met, and some of them have been outreached, right? When you look at Meta, this was the quarter that we thought, based on the tariffs that were implemented 2 quarters ago, we were going to see some pullbacks. We're going to see some earnings coming down. We're going to see some guidance being pulled back, and we haven't seen any of it, right? Trump, again, with the tariffs things, hurt us a little bit, but again, we rebounded. So I think this is part of the natural course.
2 things can be true at one time. So even though I don't like the criticism, Rashad, which you guys should focus on the entry points that we give. I sent it earlier, but 490 companies in the S&P have had no earnings growth since 2022. The Russell is falling apart. My new favorite thing over the last maybe 8 months has been to study cities. Las Vegas is in free fall in terms of growth. Wages are down there. So I think the magnificent really 10 have been dragging the stock market up overall. So even though the stock market is doing incredibly well, the economy is suffering. And then, of course, traveling across the globe, and you guys can see it as well, spending is down. Even when I went to Mexico, less people visiting. There was people packed at the Bad Bunny concert, but just in Puerto Rico, the spending is less. It's a very interesting time where, and I was having this conversation with Duval, like he was saying that there is no recession because in Atlanta and certain places that, apartments and condos are being filled, but I'm like, that's for a sliver of the population. So does the market normally turn back in August? Yes. But I don't like all this financial engineering that they're doing either. Like to fire her because the jobs number was low, opposed to fixing the core issue of why the jobs are not being there. And part of it is because of AI and even if you look at the spending or the CapEx into data centers, that has put the useful office buildings almost out of business. There's like a tower in Denver that's 34 floors that sold for $3 million. That's alarming. So I think we're benefiting greatly from the companies that are doing incredibly well, the Big 10, but the Russell is almost uninvestable at this point, and majority of the S&P is not looking well. So I think 2 things can be true at one time. But stop criticizing.
It brings up the question, and I think what you're saying is true, right? The core 10 have carried us. How sustainable is it, and can we move on this way, right? If you think about those core 10 companies, right, based on where the future is headed in terms of technology, and pretty much all of them in technology, this looks like that could be true for a while, right? Like NVIDIA can carry us for a while. Microsoft. So how do we view that, right? Because in the typical scenario, if 6 companies were leading the market 7 years ago, you'd be like, all right, we're in trouble. Now we're looking at 10 companies that are running the market, and we're like, all right, well, we still got room to run.
The truth is, we have no other choice. Like, I've never seen so many people, I've said it before, seen so many people choose to be expats out of the country across all races. I look at a company like Salesforce, I love Mark Benioff, shout out to everyone at Salesforce, yada, yada, yada. But you would think they would have benefited greater from this AI revolution, and they haven't. Banks are sitting on a lot of losses. Like, we're just at an interesting time in history where the company, like, we're having the have and have nots in the stock market. Either you are incredibly exceptional on a path to being $1 trillion company, or you're there already, or you are lackluster. There's no in between. Like, even if you look at a company like Bank of America, they're doing solid, but no one wants to invest in Bank of America when you have crypto or Nvidia or Supermicro. Like, all the value stocks are dying a slow death and no one's talking about it. So as a stock market, we don't have a choice right now. And my fear is, if some of these international companies start to get a headwind, like I know Novo had their run and they're falling apart now.
Yeah.
But if they truly have a deep seek moment that sticks, we are going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. But none of this matters if you hold for 10 years.
Yeah.
None of it matters if you hold for 10 years.
Yeah, if there's no AI component in your business, it feels like it almost becomes, you're dormant. You're dormant.
You're done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we have a few guests today. We have a special guest that's going to join us for a segment. Let's bring her up if we can.
Oh, wow.
What's the deal?
Hey.
Hello. Hey, guys.
How's it going?
Good. Just preparing for Invest Fest.
Same.
The road.
Invest Fest around the corner. Okay. So Miss Business, actually our first guest that we ever had on Earn Your Leisure. And somebody that's been at every Invest Fest so far, and a variety of other things that we've done. We've done live streams with EYL University, Market Mondays, the whole gambit.
Yeah, I think everything we've done, you've been involved in.
You've been a part of.
That's a fact.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a fact.
One way or the other, you've been involved.
I've been involved, yes.
So this year you're taking a major role, and the vendor marketplace, which is 400 businesses, everything from small mom and pop t-shirt brands to Fortune 5 companies like Fidelity. You are sponsoring the vendor marketplace. The vendor marketplace will be named after your company.
Yes, it will. I had to step it up a notch, okay?
No, wait. You have to. That's what?
Fire's in the chat for that.
Last year.
Listen,
Yeah,
and
you
I
had
think
to.
I deserve that. I think if anybody was going to sponsor the vendor marketplace, it had to be me.
That's smart. I love it.
You've become synonymous with the vendor marketplace. You've had the best booth for years running, and now, you took over a lot of real estate. That's a major real estate acquisition.
She said, "I'm not a player. I'm not a player this year. I'm running the game."
I'm not a player. I had to go bigger. I had to keep thinking bigger.
So I want to.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it doesn't matter where I go outside of Invest Fest. People say, "Oh my God, you're the person with that booth at Invest Fest." So definitely known as, I like to say, the queen of the marketplace. So
have to be memorable. Yep.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
So I know we got an announcement, but before I just wanted to ask you a question. Like, as far as for people that's out there, from a branding standpoint, can you talk about branding? Because, okay, you've obviously branded yourself from a variety of different angles, but let's just talk about InvestFest. You went out on a whim and put together an extremely elaborate booth, and that paid dividends for you, and you did that, and now you went even bigger and took over the whole entire vendor marketplace. So what is your thought process when you are looking at, like, I need to brand my business, my company, my name.
Branding is so important. So when I'm thinking, so every single year, my goal in the vendor marketplace is how can I stand out, right? And so that's what everyone should be thinking about. How can I stand out? How am I going to get people to come over to my booth? So when I was creating my booths, I never thought, oh, I need to have the best booth. My thought process was, how can I attract people? How can I engage them? And also, how can I get them to remember me? So therefore, in the future, whether I get that contact at InvestFest or they remember me in the future in some way, I still take up real estate in their head, because you can't deny that you've seen this big 20 by 20 booth and we're playing games and we're interacting. And so when it comes to branding, I think that is so important. But I think that there's two sides of branding, right? So there's the branding where you let people know, hey, this is my brand. This is what I stand for. These is my ethics. This is how I operate. Right. And then obviously you're engaging with them and then you get them as a client. Then there's another aspect of branding where you actually have to touch people. And so for me, this year, the reason why I decided not to do a booth, because I do feel like I'm the queen of the marketplace, and every single year I have the best booth. And so I said, you know what? How about I take a step back and not be competition, but be help? How can I serve the vendors? So every single year, people are like, what's your return on investment? How are you doing it? How are you doing these big booths? Does it make sense for you? What are you doing? How do you think of these concepts? Like, why do you go so big? Or how did you start out? Because I started out with a 10 by 10, right? First year, I started out with 10 by 10. So for me, this year is about giving back and letting vendors, like, we're going to be literally boots on the ground, right? It is going to be a team of us, an army of us, really just there dedicated to helping the vendors. So we've hosted webinars. I think I have an upcoming webinar coming up in a few days.
It was fire. I heard it was fire.
It was. And my entire presentation is talking to them about not only first, how do you prepare for the vendor marketplace? Then when you're there, how do you grasp the attention? How do you actually create that transaction? And most times people are thinking about, how can I make the money just today? And it's not about just today. It's about, how are you collecting those contacts? So we went over that. So basically I'm teaching them how to prepare, how to be present when you're there. And then after, what do you need to do to make sure that you are able to not only leave an impression, but also turn that into dollars. So that has been great. My entire team, we are going to be there. So whether the vendors need help getting content, they need something to eat, they need a break, they need people to come over to their booth, it's going to be amazing. And we're doing like a competition, right? You always got to do something. So we are asking the attendees to vote. So we will have different categories. The team will be there. So just figuring out ways to, one, bring that energy to the marketplace, but then also showing business owners like how to make InvestFest the most. Like, it's 20,000 people there.
Wait, where's this webinar?
It's actually on the 7th. It's on the 7th at 8 p.m. So
So what she referring to, inside of EYLU, she's been gracious enough to give her time and her knowledge to our community to help them prepare. But
that's not EYLU though. That's for every vendor.
For every vendor, right. For every vendor. That's a fact. I want to start with, I'm proud of you. Let's just start there. Like, I'm proud of you. Like, we talk all the time, but I want to tell everybody, let everybody know that we're proud of you. I'm proud of you. We're busy during InvestFest weekend for obvious reasons, but I think, like, next to us, like, you're right on that next level of super busy. Last year, you were on both stages. You were in the vendor marketplace. You were networking. How are you preparing this year yourself, right? Like, obviously, you have a business and your network. How are you preparing? What guidance, what toolage would you give to people who are going there for the first time, who are like, wait, I'm doing all these things.
How do you manage it?
What's the management plan for that?
Listen, it's a lot. It is a lot. Yes. Maybe after you guys, I may be may be the next busiest person after you all. So this year I'm giving back to the attendees, right? I'm doing the Entrepreneurs Boardroom. I have a 2-hour seminar on Friday teaching business owners how to generate profits in their business, how to save on taxes, how to actually use their business to retire rich and build wealth, because most of us, we're not really thinking about we're thinking about, I need this business to help me make money, but not really thinking about how to use it for retirement and to build wealth. The same thing that, wealthy people do when they start businesses. So I do have that workshop on on Friday at 1:35, I believe. But for me, when I'm thinking about InvestFest, I look at, you have an opportunity to touch 20,000 people. Sleep on Monday, right? You sleep on Monday. It just is what it is. It is what it is. So for me, I'm consistently, and for those of you who have booths, my thing always, and I tell everybody, people will forget what you said to them. They will never forget how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
They will never forget how you made them feel. So for me, whether somebody want to take a photo with me, they need to ask me a question, I will literally stop anything that I'm doing to make sure that I'm touching the people, because seeing someone on Instagram or YouTube, it's very different, right? When you actually get to see someone may have wanted to ask you a question or wanted to speak with you. So I do take the time to just touch them. I take time to spend at my booth. I may not be there the entire time, right? My team may be there, but I do take time to spend at my booth. This year I'll be all around the marketplace, but I still do designate that time when I'm not on the stage to walk around and speak to people. And sometimes people won't speak to you. Sometimes people are staring at you and I'll just be like, hi, right? Because people are like staring. And so I just make it my business throughout InvestFest to touch as many people. And so to any vendor or any attendee or any person, you have an opportunity and you're in a space with amazing people that have decided to invest in themselves as well. Everybody there is a winner. Everybody has taken that step to invest in themselves. So take that opportunity to network, to show up, and to just make people feel good. You can't go wrong with that.
Two-parter for you. What are the 3 biggest mistakes you see vendors make when they're in a marketplace? And how long does it take you? I was incredibly impressed with what you had last year in terms of, but you ran me out of not one. I'm like, wait.
Freestyle battles.
I'm gonna have to have a Jurassic Park theme. You got a game still going. I'm like, what? How long does it take to be that, to come up with a plan, execute it, talk about it with the team, and then also get the ROI back from the investment into it? Because those activations are not cheap.
They are not cheap. So in terms, to be very honest, believe it or not, that activation last year, because I'm so crazy in my thought process, we literally kind of pulled that off within 2 weeks, right? It's not ideal. Yeah, but I'm crazy, right? I'm like, I kept trying to think about what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh, the presidential election is there. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do Miss Business for the People. Because again, I'm always about just touching people. Mm-hmm. And so this year I'm keeping the same exact theme, Miss Business for the People, but I'm just flipping it. And it's about the vendors this year in the marketplace. So if I had to give an ideal, I would say about 3 weeks, right? So everyone who is a vendor, you need to figure out now, and you need to be thinking about, how am I don't walk into any InvestFest without having targets. I know how many people I want signed up on my email list. Okay. I know my funnel, what do I want them to do? So whether that, if you have a free webinar, you need to make sure that that's set up. If it is, let's say, for instance, you may be doing a release, right? For people that have products, maybe you want to create some sort of hype around a release that is coming afterwards, because the reality is, when you're there, you want to make sure your number one goal for me is always to make sure that I can keep in contact with these people after InvestFest.
Sure. Yep.
And I think that a lot of people, to the mistake question that you asked, I think a lot of people are more so concerned about how much t-shirts did I sell in this moment? How much product did I sell in this moment? Versus how can I really capitalize and get their contact and really add value? So when I walk into InvestFest, I know how many signups I need. I know how many people I want to engage with. And with that being said, I also think about okay, what does that mean from an online and offline perspective? Because not everybody, one, is going to see your booth, but they may see you online. So now they know where to find you. And not only that, there may be people that's not at InvestFest that still want to be a part of what you're doing. So you have to make sure that you're showcasing that. And so when people are thinking about being in the room, sometimes they're not thinking about how to really capitalize holistically off of being in the room. And so that's why I see that. And that's why even when I did the first vendor webinar, I asked, I'm like, who's coming here alone? And so many people said, hey, I'm going to have to come there alone. And I said, listen, that's fair. You are going to come there. But that's why myself and my entire team, we're going to be there. So whether you need content to show people, or whether you're like, hey, I need help checking out. I may have multiple people at my booth, but I can't really, help them check out. Everyone can't afford to have a bunch of team people. Have a bunch of people on their team there. Staff, but that's why we are going to be there, boots on the ground, helping you guys. Just make sure you connect the dots.
Man, no, that's amazing. You know what? It speaks to the power of relationships, and that's really what everything that we done has been built on. Whether it's Ian, that's a relationship that was built just organically. Yourself, that's a relationship that was just built organically. As far as coming in and being the first guest on the show, and then a variety of other things, and then watching your business grow, you watching our business grow, and then you pouring into us pouring into you. And I think that it speaks a lot about your character. That okay, it's one thing to sponsor something, but you're actually, like you said, you're doing webinars to educate people. You got boots on the ground to help vendors. You're teaching a class on Friday. You'll be speaking on Saturday, but you're teaching a class on Friday. That's why I say Friday, man. It is a lot of work. Y'all need to be there on Friday. I can't say that enough, man. There's a lot of education that's happening on Friday. Do not sleep on Friday. Friday is a day that you guys need to be there. But once again, you never to be outdone. And one thing I like about you too is that you're not afraid to spend money.
For sure. That's a fact.
That's one thing I appreciate. That's one thing I appreciate because you need to sometimes.
You have to spend money. You have to spend money to make money. But more importantly, you have to have that strategy to understand how you're going to make money, right? And so from that, whatever you're investing in. So yeah, I'm gonna spend some money.
So speaking of that. Speaking of branding, speaking of spending money, speaking of never being outdone, and speaking of most importantly, impact, I know you watch Market Mondays just like everybody else watches Market Mondays. And you called and said, look, man, I can't be outdone. So we did something a few weeks ago, and I think you want to kind of tee it up. I'll tee it up for you. You can make the announcement.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. So listen, as Rashad said, I cannot be outdone. So just because a bigger business, and again, this is inspiration, right? For everyone, just because a bigger business, did it, right? That doesn't mean that smaller businesses also can't take their resources and actually contribute. So I want to sponsor 100 tickets, general admission tickets, 50% off. Right. So listen, they did it. I'm doing it too. I cannot be outdone, right? As well as 10 vendor booths, 50% off. You pay 50%, I pay 50%. Okay. So I want to make sure that, and when you guys see me, say hi to me, right? I pay 50%.
For real. This is
say thank you.
That's a fact. But you said something that was extremely insightful. You gotta help, because like even somebody I gave somebody a vendor booth and I realized I don't really want to give them a vendor booth. Pay, because you got to have some skin in the game.
Yes.
What's not appreciated.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. When you give something to somebody and they have no skin in the game at all, then they have it's really it's not valuable. It doesn't hold any value. Yeah. So it's like, for you to do 50% off, I think that's extremely generous. And that you put people in a position where it's like, okay, if I'm serious, if I'm really trying to level up, if I'm trying to meet somebody and I might have had some economic challenges or hurdles, this is an opportunity that I'm given, right? So we want to greatly appreciate it. The code is CPA. Also, that's easy. CPA. 3 letters. CPA.
CPA. Yes. That is CPA. So easy. And what I also want to do for anyone that purchased a ticket, because if you're in the building, you want to invest, you're a business owner, and most people, right, they are going to, and for those of you who do not know me, I am a CPA, right? I'm an accountant. And so my main goal all the time is to help you all save on taxes. And why? Because the more money you keep in your pocket, the more money you have to invest in your business, the more money you have to invest in the market, the faster you will get to your dream life, right? And so what I'm also, for the first 100 people, right, that use that code CPA to get that 50% off, I want to give you a training that will help you and educate you on how to use your business to save on taxes. And I'm also going over the tax changes that have the big beautiful bill, all of the changes, all of the changes in the big beautiful bill. So I go over that in the training, because obviously, you know, what was going to work last year is not going to work this year based on those changes. So you need to know that. And so I want to throw that in there as well.
Over deliver.
So let's just take a moment. You go to investfest.com. If you enter code CPA, the first 100 people for general admission tickets, we can't do VIP. That's done. But we could do general admission tickets, 50% off. You enter code CPA, and the first 10 vendor booths, if you enter code CPA, you get 50% off, and you will also get the video that Ms. Businesses spoke about, as far as how she's detailing how to save money, business strategies, going over the big beautiful bill. I mean, especially if you live in the South Atlanta, Georgia area, I think you should definitely take advantage of it. 3 weeks left. This is one of the most important, if not the most important, Invest Fest ever. We're talking about artificial intelligence and everything else. And before you leave, I gotta ask a question, a tax question. From the big beautiful bill, what's one thing that you can kind of highlight to be like, okay, this is something that you guys should be aware of?
Oh, one thing. It's bonus depreciation. We have bonus depreciation back at 100%. I have been dying for it, because bonus depreciation was enacted in 2018. However, if you purchase something September 27th, 2017, you were able to use bonus depreciation, meaning that you can purchase an asset, and instead of writing it off or depreciating it over its asset life, you could now take 100%. Right. So remember, we actually did that episode on Market Mondays, which has millions of views, right? Talking about the 6,000 pound rule. Now, what happened was that started to phase out in 2022. So it started to phase out in 2022. So every year after that, it started to decrease by 20%. So this year we were actually only able to take 40%. Right, of the asset value. So let's say you purchased a truck for $100,000, you would have only been able to write off $40,000 in that year. Now we're back to 100%, and so that is a major game changer for the big beautiful bill. So I think that is like my favorite. I think the tips and the no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime, to me, I think they could have done better, because you still have to pay state taxes and payroll taxes on that money. So yes, you know, and then it's also capped. So it's not really like my favorite. Will you benefit? Yes, but not much. So
that's a great update. The last time, I think we spoke over the summer about how the depreciation was going to change, and so I'm with you. I'm happy, because the end of the year is coming up, and so we got to have our annual call.
Yes, definitely have to have that tax planning call. So that depreciation, and then for those of you in real estate, that's major, right? Because if you're doing real estate and you're doing cost seg, I really feel like we need to have a whole separate class about this, but you know, doing real estate, it also allows you to take more of a depreciation expense. So we definitely have to pay attention to the tax code is necessary. Listen, make sure that you guys are in my class on Friday at InvestFest at 1:35. We have 2 hours, so I get to really teach. This isn't a panel. This is me really being able to teach you guys and really hear from you guys and touch you guys. And I'm excited for InvestFest this year. A very different approach, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be way more impactful. You'll see us. Trust me, you guys will see us. Have a whole street team.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you wholeheartedly.
This business, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Ian, do you have a tax question?
Not yet. Well, not publicly, but privately.
Text me, Ian. Text me.
Well, how can we get more depreciating assets?
Miss Business, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And yes, definitely be sure to the website and the app. The Runner Show will be available this week, I think Wednesday. So make sure you plan out your trip accordingly. But I would not, if I was you, if Miss Business is teaching for 2 hours, that's something that you need to be there for sure.
I do have a question though about branding. We're at the awards. Regal as always. Can you talk about the importance of how that plays into your brand and all the extra giving that you're doing? Because I feel like not only will you outspend, you'll outgive. Can you talk about how they all tie in together to keep a customer or a client in your ecosystem longer?
Absolutely. So I feel like people notice what you're doing. They notice how you're showing up. And I always that's my biggest thing. I want to be in a room. I want to show up. I want to give back. I want to touch people. So when I'm showing up in any way, whether it's with my peers or with my clients, I just want to be authentic. I want to help. So like, for instance, the award show, I sponsored the award show, Melanin Money. I didn't even know I was going to win. I didn't have a speech. I didn't have anything. Thank you. But I sponsored that because you have to have brand awareness. And what I always do is I look at bigger companies. Bigger companies are spending money to be in places. And I don't try to recreate the wheel. I don't reinvent it. If bigger companies are saying, listen, I need visibility and they are that big, why do I think that I don't need to go the extra mile to make sure that my company name and my name is in every room and I'm there and I'm networking and I'm collaborating and connecting? It all matters because the reality is relationships are going to make you way more money. Right? It's going to make you way more money. And so I think when people just see me, and that's what people always tell me, like, I feel you, like, I feel how genuine you are. And you can't really cheat that, right? People are watching, they see you. And so I just stay true to my brand. I feel like I'm only blessed because I'm a blessing. And so I just stay true to that. And
it's a blessing to be a blessing. And then also somebody else is going to be at InvestFest, Carter, speaking of Melanin Money. He posted something actually in regards to the Big Beautiful Bill with the 529 plans. And, 529 plans is something that when I started as a financial advisor, I was selling a lot of 529 plans and it was very restrictive at that time. But that's been loosened up throughout the years, and Trump loosened it up even more. So now you can do $20,000 a year, apparently.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I believe it's 40,000
per couple.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the individual, you can do 20,000 a year. You can use it for curriculum and tutoring. You can use it for trade certificates and license. You can use the money for special education therapy. You can use the money for online platforms. You can use the money for workforce credentials. So this was, for a long time, it was very rigid where you couldn't use 529 for homeschool. You couldn't use 529 for a lot of things outside of college. Like Biden, I think Biden changed it where you can use it for like K through 12 education. Mm-hmm. But before that, you couldn't even use it for K through 12 education,
secondary education.
So it's becoming. But I also think that speaks a lot about the times that we're in and how people are redefining education. Right, like college is not the only pathway. It's not the only. So it's like that's something that's in the Big Beautiful Bill that I think parents should be aware of. as well. Is like you can put more money into 529s and you can use that, especially the special education therapy. I think that's big. You know, there's a lot of people with autism. There's a lot of kids that have IEPs. That's something that's real big. So, you know, as far as advocating for your child and making sure they have the right resources so they can be successful in life, you know, doing it in a tax advantaged manner, right? That's the whole point of the 529 is that you don't have to pay taxes on the growth if you use it for those purposes. That's big for parents to fully understand.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, I think that they are aware that this money is there, right? And so what else can we allow parents to use this money for? And I think, and I always say, like, everyone has to start thinking in taxes. I don't care whether you want to or not. Everyone's highest bill is taxes, right? Whether it's income, payroll, property, sales tax, freaking gift tax, death tax. There's so many different taxes, so we can't ignore it, right? So we have to start thinking in taxes. What can I do so therefore I can get a tax advantage and still get the benefit? That's how we always need to be thinking. So if you know, and I get this question from parents all the time, I need to pay tuition. What can I do? Now you can invest in that 529 plan because, as you mentioned, it's not as rigid as it was before, and they are opening it up. Why? And we always have to think why, right? Why are they doing this? They're doing this because they want more of our money invested in the market. And if you say, hey, I'm going to take some of my money and then invest it in this 529 plan, then guess what? They now have you invested. They now have your money in there. And what does that do? That stimulates the economy. So I always tell everyone, when it comes to the tax code, it really is just them saying, hey, how can we get people to do what we want them to do? And that's okay. We look at it and we use it to our advantage, right? Because they're going to use it to their advantage.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And the Runner Show is actually live right now on the app and on the website. So the Runner Show is live right now. Okay. But Ms. Business, thank you. Once again, you can go to investfest.com, enter code CPA at checkout. And Ms. Business will be covering the first 100 people, 50% off general admission tickets, and the first 10 vendors, general admission tickets. And there's actually 21 vendor booths left, 10 by 10. So those will sell out before InvestFest.
Tell them the code again. Tell them the code.
CPA.
Yep.
But we will see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to be at the workshop for sure.
I will be there. We got to take our annual. We got to take our annual picture. We have to do that.
Yes, I will see you guys in a few weeks. I am leading up to InvestFest. I'm going to be working. So I will see you guys there. Thank you for having me. I look forward to just making the vendor marketplace like an experience that has never been done before. So
that's incredible.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you so much.
The queen of the marketplace.
Yes. Vendor marketplace.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
The Brooks Alliance Vendor Marketplace.
Wow.
That's fire.
Think about that, man. 7 years ago, we were in a dining room, sitting down with Miss Business, going over Kanye West. And 7 years later, here we are. She's the queen of the marketplace, sponsoring tickets. This is an incredible journey to watch, man. I'm super proud of her.
Well, life's golden rule is you keep it real with a person that keeps it real with you.
Yeah.
True.
So we had Miss Business as the first guest.
Absolutely.
Earn Your Leisure. And she helped our platform and we helped her business. And she didn't forget that and we didn't forget that. And now 7 years later, she's coming back as a major sponsor.
It's crazy.
And doing a variety of different things, right? So that's important. Like relationships
matter.
Relationships matter. And as Ian says, the biggest return on investment is a long-term hold.
For sure.
You don't even know what the potential of
that relationship is going to be
if you ruin it. Like, let's say, okay,
like all jokes aside, like if we talk about some of the things Trump has done well in that tech bro circle, they've held on to those relationships for 15 and 20 years and end up benefiting from him being in office now.
Facts.
Most of the tech initiatives, they didn't even plan to do anything in government, but relationships took them a long way. And it's to burn a bridge, it's hard to replace a bridge, but a great bridge that works, mistake.
Facts. So that's
don't reinvent the wheel, man.
And I will say this too, as far as 529, here's a hack for you guys if you're interested. okay, now you can use the money for high school education, stuff like that. Here's something to think about. In my theory, what if you're trying to especially go the college route, what do colleges look at? They look at your high school transcript. They don't look at your middle school transcript. They don't look at your preschool transcript. They look at what you did in high school. And they look at what high school you went to. So if you're having a kid or you're planning on having a kid, maybe what you might want to do is start a 529 plan from the time that, like the moment that they get born, start a 529 plan, put as much money into it as you possibly can, send them to public school from preschool all the way up to 8th grade. And then by that time, you should have some money, a nest egg. Now you can use that to pay for the private school, because that's going to be something that's going to be a tremendous financial burden for you if you're trying to send your kids to private school. So it's not like you just, out the blue, I just got to scramble up and scrape together, thousands of dollars to pay for private school. You've already prepared for that because you saved money. You didn't put them in private school in kindergarten. I don't think it makes sense to go to private school in kindergarten. You can, but I'm speaking from a personal standpoint, because I actually went to private school and public school, so I can speak on this. Save your money, go to the best high school that you possibly can, and then they can go to anywhere in the world. They can go to Ivy League school after that, or they could just, be an entrepreneur or whatever. But their education that they're learning in those formidable years from 14 to 18 is vitally important to shape them on their future trajectory for life.
And if you can't afford a tutor, there's more options for tutoring once they get home. Please look into investing into some teachers and having them teach your kid after hours, and that in combination, like you said, what Khalees is doing with AI, it'll speed them up really quickly.
Yeah, facts. There's plenty of programming. I was going to say that the AI component helps as well, but you help as well, right? Like wherever you're doing in your career field, what your knowledge base is, you should be pouring into your kid. At least they have information in what you're doing. And two things can happen. They can say, I really love what you're doing, mom or dad, or aunt, whoever it is, and I want to see if I can pursue a career in that path. Or you're like, I'm glad you gave me the information. It's not something I'm interested in. Either way, it's going to be beneficial.
It don't got to be 2 hours. It can be 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, less.
Very short.
Yeah, give them a little bit, little doses over time.
And then if done correctly, if they really excel in high school, especially if they play sports or whatever, then you might not even have to pay for college.
That's a great point.
So you got to be strategic about these things.
Mm-hmm.
Success doesn't happen by accident.
That's a great point. Even when what you're teaching them, they may take a combination of everything that they learn and apply it to something else that may be in 6 or 7 years, and they'll be prepared.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Okay. What do we think of CoreWeave?
Good old CoreWeave.
And well, let's do CoreWeave first.
Yeah, I'm big on CoreWeave. I've been talking about that for the past 6 months. It feels like ever since we went to NVIDIA's headquarters and saw the role that CoreWeave was going to play. For those who are not familiar with what CoreWeave does, they specialize in cloud platform based on GPU accelerated. So, right, they create the cloud service for GPUs and they rent that to companies. And so why is that important? GPUs are very expensive. In fact, NVIDIA's GPU is now $45,000 for Blackwell. Not many people can buy that in bulk. When we're talking about these machines, we're talking about hundreds of GPUs inside of them. And so you're talking millions of dollars. And so what is a way to cut down on that cost? Well, you can rent it. And that's what they do. NVIDIA actually has 20% of CoreWeave's company. They provide them with the chips. And so every year that the new chip comes out, the old one becomes now part of their product rollout. And it's been working for them. In fact, you saw them fall back. Obviously, they're still in that 6-month phase since IPOing. They pulled back a little bit, and then Microsoft reported, and all of a sudden you saw CoreWeave run up. Well, if you look at CoreWeave's biggest client, it's Microsoft, right? They have Microsoft, they have OpenAI, Meta's a client, IBM's a client. And so this model is working. Do I like it long term? That I'm not sure about just yet, because you'll have competition. It becomes that number two theory again, right? Like there are certain corporations and firms that can afford GPUs at that level, right? They can afford the cloud service from AWS. They can afford Azure. And then you have these mid-tier companies that might not be in that price point. And so now, exactly. And now and so they have to have an AI component, like we said, or they're going to be dormant. CoreWeave now steps in this lane as an opportunity for them to still compete, not at the highest level, right? Like they're not going to have the newest chip, but they have chips that they can perform and create on their platform. And so I like the idea of it. Long term, I'm interested in seeing if who steps inside that space as well, and now also becomes a cloud service that rents to companies, because that's not something that they own, right? The fact that they have NVIDIA is a huge benefit, but what happens when somebody does that with AMD, right? Like you can see that becoming competitive. But as long as AMD, NVIDIA is in their corner, it's 20% ownership in it. I mean, they should be good here in the near future.
It's a great investment. Yeah, I like CoreWeave. I don't know if it's top 12 of things that I would invest in. Good company though. I agree with everything you said. I think the pullback is reflective of what we talked about. But definitely a good company. I'll put them probably like in a B or high C tier list of stocks.
Yeah, I put them in. They're right with my HubSpot. They're in that same category. That Salesforce is for the elite, and then you got mid tier with HubSpot in terms of CRM, and now you have Azure and you have AWS and Google Cloud for a certain extent. Oracle's in that space now, and then CoreWeave is that next tier.
Yeah.
What about Figma?
I like Figma as a company, but my rule is always you have to wait 6 months to let everything, let the dust settle. Hell of a run up. IPO'd at I think 84, went up to 150, but it's back down at 93 and some change. To everyone who invested early, congrats to you. But I have to wait 6 months before I'm willing to look to buy in long term. There's a lot of talk about it being an Adobe killer. I'm not sure about that, but I do think as a result, Adobe is going to have to figure out their business model and pricing structure going forward, because they have too much competition in terms of them, Canva, just AI in general. I am worried about what Adobe is going to do to re-strategize and how to restructure the business with so many competitors coming into the landscape.
Okay. And last but not least, what about Terawulf?
I haven't looked into Terawulf enough yet to have a great assessment on it. Give me till 2 weeks from now, and then I can do like a thorough breakdown. I know it's caught a lot of interest, but for me, I've only been focusing on the companies that I know for the next 10 years are going to be dominant or are in that B tier that have probability of creeping in. I think Terawulf is a little bit too new, but give me about 2 more weeks, and then I'll give you a full assessment on it. But a lot of these problems go away by focusing on quality. The high of them was good, but I don't see them being in the top tier. I know it's at a cheap price right now, but give me 2 weeks and I'll give you a full breakdown on it. Yeah,
we should do a B tier of stocks. Like they got the Division 1 teams, and you got Division 2. Like, yeah, people like, well, what these are good companies. They're just not A tier yet. Some of them will never get to that level, and they're not designed to be at that level. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that they can't be good investments.
A Salesforce B tier?
Salesforce is A tier.
Bottom of the A tier?
Bottom of the A tier, yeah.
Okay.
Where's
AMD for you?
Well, Apple.
But you didn't say
sometimes you gotta look when God give you the sign. No, AMD, all jokes aside, AMD is not NVIDIA, but AMD is still A tier for sure.
Yeah, I think you should the copy and paste on that. It's like, yo, I don't know what they want you to say. You said NVIDIA, okay. You said things about AMD, okay. You're not going to be 100% right every time. Get over it.
But even with that, I'm like, this is the part with clip culture. I've been in AMD since 2017 personally.
It's like,
so AMD is not NVIDIA. I don't give a fuck what y'all say.
No, that's A plus tier.
It's nowhere near close. If you go look, I was talking about AMD on Market Mondays in 2021. I know y'all want to ride the wave, and certain stuff I'm not falling for no more. Whatever you say, you right, you got it.
You got it.
You right.
What's crazy is during that segment, and I know it was on Blackout when Trump was talking about trying to get rid of NVIDIA. We used to say that they were 85% of the GPU market. He said that they were 100% of the GPU market. Like, wait, when did this happen? When he woke what? Up in his mind? Mm-hmm. I guess he didn't know. Yeah, but yeah, they're creeping into the 90s now in terms of market share, which is that's good for NVIDIA investors. Sure. I'll say that.
So let's talk about a few different things. I want to talk about futures, but before that, Bayswag. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that episode, but that was a really dope episode that we did with Bayswag.
Shout out to Bayswag.
One of the things that he said was that when GameStop happened, he had $80,000 to his name, and he did an option. Now he had never invested in stocks before, but he heard about what was going on. He put $80,000 into an options call, and he made $250 off of it. And then he said he told Meek about something similar, and Meek made $2 million off of it. But he didn't understand what he was doing. Mm-mm. So he said eventually he started to lose money. He got a little nervous, took the money out. I don't think he invested in stocks ever since. So what's the advice for somebody that's similar to that, whereas they might have got in, whether it was crypto, stocks, and they caught a lick, but they don't really know what they're doing. They took a loss, and now they kind of like in that weird thing because they believe it because they've seen it happen in real time, but they're not educated enough to really feel confident in like doing it again.
2 Tech 2 Index, listen to me and watch Market Mondays. And that's why I think it's great for the outreach, because we can criticize an artist and say, why did you take this deal? But I often would ask, like, why don't you reach out to the artist and try and help them? So I got to commend you guys for doing that. And invest in a top 4 for sure, whether it's crypto, whether it's housing or commercial markets, whether it's stocks. They're going to tell you what the top 5 are. If you just don't deviate from those, everything will be a-okay. I think sometimes people want to have foresight to know what is going to turn into the top 4, top 5, and I get that. But if you just invest in the top 4 in the space, you'll be a-okay. So VO, VTI, QQQ, Microsoft, NVIDIA, even Apple is having this lull. It's still a better investment than sitting in cash. For sure.
I think that's what's important. It's for because there's somebody right now that's watching Market Mondays for the first time. So the language is important. There's a difference between investing and trading.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times people have the two intertwined. Yep. And they feel like they might have hit a lick with a trade, but you don't feel confident trading, right? So it's like, I don't really feel confident doing this. I'm not going to do this anymore. That's different from investing. My personal philosophy, you should invest before you trade.
Absolutely.
And you should have a full understanding of investing before you start trading. And when you do start trading, you should have a limited amount of your portfolio in trading versus investing. But that's something, like I said,
15% max for sure. 85% of your money should be long term.
And a lot of people, as you've watched Market Mondays for a long time, this is an elementary course for you. But like I said, some people, you'd be surprised, they don't know the difference. So, okay, for people that don't
know the difference, their actions aren't reflective of the portfolio allocation. You may end up trading way more than you know you should, even if you have the knowledge.
No, I would even argue, even if they know the difference, their portfolio doesn't know the difference. Right? If you ask somebody what they're invested in, they'll tell you, I'm doing futures, or I got these day option contracts, and it's like, when do you learn how to do this? I just watched a video, just figuring this thing out. Yeah. I think, and Shai, I'm gonna let you finish as well, but I think kind of where you ended the first part of the question was the education. Right? Like the fact that he had the courage to say, I don't know, the fact to say that it did work, the fact after the episode, he was like, can y'all teach me? I think that speaks a lot, especially for somebody in his lane. And so shout out to Bayswag, and go get the album if you haven't got it. He wants to learn, and his crew wants to learn, right? So we can make that sustainable. Because the 250 was great, but what if we would have reinvested half of that from 2021? Where would that have been now? And so when they start looking from a long-term perspective and they start to see it and like, wait, this isn't just something that was something I threw out there and I got lucky, because that's what it feels like. I got lucky and maybe I won't get lucky again. What if you could actually learn strategy and technique and have a full grasp of what you're doing to make sure that that's sustainable? So the 250 turns into $1 million, that turns into 2 million, right? Then you start looking at life a lot different. It's not like, hey, I got to sign this bad deal. I'm not relying on this deal. I know I can make money in this space doing this, right? Once I learn this skill. So shout out to him and for taking the courage, because I don't know how many young adults, especially in his position, are saying,
most wouldn't.
I know what I did. I wasn't really educated on it. I made some money. Can you help me make this sustainable?
Yeah, but also not even taking the flip into consideration and reinvest in that. If you invest, see, the tortoise always wins the race. If you invested 80,000 with no options in NVIDIA, you would have made more money than $250,000 now today. So what this is a microcosm. Like I said, I'm just using this as an example, but there's a lot of people I've seen, crypto, especially in crypto, meme stocks, where they're thinking short term and they're doing things that they don't fully understand. And it may actually work, but what they don't understand is like they're actually stunting their growth. Because they're not planting that seed, that a tree. They're getting plants. They're planting plants, right? And they're looking at it like, damn, I got a plant. That's helpful, but you could have had a tree. So that's just something to just take into consideration. Invest in these companies that we telling you to invest in every single week, and hold it for a long period of time. And then if you want to trade, you can do that, right? Options class. We're going to talk about futures, but don't try to be like the #1 trader in the world before you actually open a brokerage account and put any money in. And it's like, this is my pathway to just become a millionaire. It's just, do it this way, because it can work, but ultimately you probably going to end up losing.
How many times will it work? Right. What's the percentage of it working? Right. We always talk about the percentage of people trading options. 95% of people are going to lose money, but it's interesting. And I think the education piece is so important that if you look at what's happened over the past 3 weeks, even on Market Mondays, there's been the meme stocks that are running and we haven't even talked about it. People are not, people are making money, and obviously I've gotten some DMs about Open Door and I'm watching it, but there's not the craze that there was in 2021. It was Bed Bath & Beyond, it was games, it was all these stocks, and you're like, wait, people are going to lose in the end. People are going to lose. It's happened again. What there could mean a sign for the market, or maybe not, but the craze is not the same because the education level has been raised to such a level that we understand how this works. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of trading, if somebody wants to start trading in futures, right? What's some beginning advice for people that's afraid?
We just talked about it. Number one, invest 85% of your money long term. First, the greatest trader of all time, Paul Tudor Jones, the Michael Jordan of futures. When he started his fund, it was a long only fund. Pause. The greatest trick I think that's ever been done in investing and trading is having you think the biggest gains are from trading. But when you look at Microsoft's all-time return, over 100,000%, NVIDIA since 99 is 22,000%. It's up 5,000% in the last 7 years. All the big gains that you see that are life-changing and wealth-developing gains are from investing. I know Soros had the one trade that broke the Bank of England in 1983. All of the millionaires that we were casually running into people at NVIDIA who were millionaires and had been there 3 years. Just a game of wealth that they don't tell you. The real secrets are holding for, okay. When France colonized places, did they do a 1-year option or are they 100-year holds? Don't listen to me. Listen to the Queen. Did she got the Bahamas? Did she do a 1-year expiration on the water exports out of Bahamas? And this is the part where I get shot. I feel you, boy. So much I want to say, but I won't, right? Because I'm not going for the BS. People convince you that and I started off trading futures in 2015 before anybody black was doing it. But everyone I met who was incredibly wealthy, I've noticed they all had minimum of 8-year holds. And whatever the asset was, whether it was trucking, whether it was real estate, whether it was in pharma, whether it's in waterways, whether it was in music, the short-term flips are fun because they're easy to talk about. But all the real wealth is held from the long term. Also, too, I got an announcement to make at some point in the future. Sniper 2 will be out. So we can do that. But first, the thing that helped me with understanding long-term trends or intraday trends was to know what the real direction of an asset was. Like, I know people who are getting killed short in gold, and I'm like, why are you shorting the gold off the 5-minute chart when the long-term direction of everybody who is buying gold is going long? You got the direction wrong.
Yeah.
Well, stochastic told me that. Well, I had a rainbow butterfly set up that. I'm like, dog, the fucking Bank of Japan is buying gold long term, so it'll help you know the direction. And I don't know any good traders that are not good term long investors first. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You guys know anybody who traded any asset, media, currencies, oil? You guys are in Africa. Does anybody talk to you about a 6-month or a 1-year maneuver?
No.
Even the colonizers are like, yo, I'm gonna take all the copper out of Africa for 50 years. De Beers didn't do a 1-year diamond trade.
Yeah, that we can go down a rabbit hole on that. No,
how long did Columbus travel through Spain and Bahamas? Don't believe me. Go look at historically. Nothing is 1 to 2 years. As much money as I've made trade, all my long-term holds have paid off. This relationship's paid off more. Red Panda Stock Club, years. You don't think they could have sold Earn Your Lease? Y'all could have sold Red Panda. No, the real money's in the hold. Jensen's been working. I watched the clip the other day. Jensen said he worked 7 days a week, and the joy on his face when he lit up, I'm like, you can tell he's not lying. He's been working hard on NVIDIA every day for decades to then have this prominent jobs like moment. 7 days. Like, what do you do for fun? I find fun in the work. You wonder how he got to this valuation. It's by the culture. And we said it when we went there. Everyone there is working. No one was playing foosball. There wasn't a basketball game or table tennis, nothing. They were working. Find something that you love to do and pour your all into that. But my tip for anybody who wants to trade, invest long-term first. Then use the trading entries to be able to get better entries into the long term, and only maximum 15% of your capital should go to trader.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah, the long-term perspective is in that's it. 20 years ago, if you look at what Jensen's net worth was and what Bill Gates's net worth was, it wouldn't be fair in comparison. Present day, he's passed him by 60 billion.
Yep.
Incredible. Hold for the long term.
Please do.
Hold for the long term.
Even if you look at Bitcoin,
hold for the long term.
Bitcoin 10 years ago was probably 2015, probably 290. Oh boy, who lost that hard drive in the garage? He finally quit looking after 10 years. Even in the losses, to tell you something. Lost billions of Bitcoin. The hard drive away.
Gave up.
12 years in, man. Yeah. Headed to $1 billion, and he's giving up.
150 million, just gonna have to just chalk it up.
Yeah, but they said by 2030 it'll be worth $8 billion.
I mean, it don't matter now. It's not. It's worth nothing.
It's worth nothing. Yeah,
that's a better way to look at it.
Why they keep showing the landfill? Why is he thinking he's just gonna stay there and find it?
You never know, man. You never know.
They got to put a ping device maybe on it, on the new joints, the ledgers. You know, like you got the Apple tracker. You can track your joint.
I don't know.
They probably need to put that technology inside the ledgers because this is getting out of control.
We'll speak about it later. But we have a guest.
Okay.
Let's bring our guest up if we can. How's it going?
You guys hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Yeah, you perfect. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay. Can you hear us? Good.
I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. That's good.
All right.
So, yep. Jay Jacobs is the head of the U.S. equity ETFs at BlackRock. So we are honored to have you. BlackRock is playing a major part in InvestFest this year, coming back. Workshops. We're going to talk about a few, but first and foremost, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, so let's talk about the ETF market. We talk about ETFs a lot on this show, on this platform since we started. So my first question is, with trends like AI and Bitcoin and the shifting geopolitical landscape, how are the markets being restructured in 2025 and even looking forward to 2026?
Well, I think one of the important things for investors to look at in this year is just how much the market is being moved by themes. You go back to February, you had a huge sell-off because of DeepSeek, which was really a bigger function of artificial intelligence. And the market's trying to understand how valuable is AI and what the value of AI means to the stock market. Now, zoom ahead to April, you had Liberation Day. This was really about the theme of tariffs and geopolitical fragmentation. If you go back to basically the end of World War II through the global financial crisis, all you saw was more and more and more globalization around the world. People moving around the world, goods moving around the world, the internet and finance connecting money and content around the world. And you're starting to see that shift a little bit, more regionalization, more internal production of things through reshoring. So in April, you had this big kind of reinvigoration of geopolitics as a theme. We're increasingly seeing crypto as a theme as people look at changing regulations in the US and changing ways to build portfolios using crypto. So I think the big change for 2025 is a lot of people used to look at the world through sectors, through countries. Increasingly, people have to look at the world through themes to explain what's going on in the markets and try to capture some of the best opportunities.
Yeah, we grew up in an era where people investing in individual equities. That has changed in the recent events over the past, I'd say 3 to 5 years. What have you noticed in terms of ETF purchasing from individual investors?
Huge growth. So, you're absolutely right. If you went back, this isn't that long ago. If you went back like 2 or 3 decades and you wanted to get global exposure, you would pick a stock like, I don't know, like Coca-Cola or something, just because it's a company that sells product all around the world, right? But you have so much concentration risk if you do that. You're buying one company in one segment. If soda sales go down, that's going to be bad for your portfolio, even if you're trying to get kind of global exposure. But what ETFs did was they made it so easy with just one click through a brokerage account to literally get exposure to thousands of companies around the world in all kinds of countries in Europe and Asia and emerging markets. And so that growth has just continued with end investors who are looking to build, frankly, what would have been considered really sophisticated portfolios just a couple of decades ago, but now are just fairly kind of simple multi-ticker portfolios where you can get your US exposure through the S&P 500, your international exposure through a ticker like IXUS, emerging markets exposure, Bitcoin, et cetera. You can really build a super diversified portfolio using ETFs because of the ease of access that they provide investors.
I think we all know AI is here to stay. Crypto is here to stay. Going back to your thematic point, what themes do you think we'll see maybe the next 5 years or into the 2030s that will have an incredible impact on the market that investors tonight should be looking out for?
So I think it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day of all this noise and news around what's going on. If you look, longer term, we just continue to have tremendous conviction around artificial intelligence. So what we say right now is we're really in stage 1 of 3 stages of artificial intelligence. First stage being the build out. You have to build all of this infrastructure around AI to support it. These are data centers. This is power supply. This is semiconductors. This is trillions of dollars being invested to build out this artificial intelligence revolution. It takes years. This isn't just something that happens in the cloud mysteriously. It has physical places where artificial intelligence is happening. So that's where we are today. The next stage will be enterprise adoption. This is when companies and governments around the world are embedding AI into how people work at these companies, the types of products they're building at these companies. That takes time as well. It's not like email just took over the world in one day. It took a few years for people to realize that this is a technology that's useful, and you start using it in your everyday life. So that's the second stage. And then the third stage will ultimately be what we call the transformation stage, where AI is basically ubiquitous. It's in everything we do. It's in driverless cars. It's building entire companies, maybe with one person, where it's AI building the products, doing the legal work, doing the finance work, et cetera. All of that is going to take maybe a decade to play out. And so if we look 5 years, 10 years out, we still see a lot of opportunity in artificial intelligence as really one of the biggest tech revolutions we have seen since the invention of the internet.
So, okay, you're the head of equity when it comes to ETF. So this might not be in your wheelhouse because it's crypto, but when you talk about iShares, we got to talk about IBIT, right? I believe it's the largest Bitcoin ETF and something that has been a star performer as Bitcoin is going up. So what is your thoughts on IBIT and the criticism that people might have of it as far as that it's not actually owning crypto, and the crypto purists look at it a different way? So how do you feel about IBIT?
Well, let me just kind of dispel a myth. What IBIT does is it buys Bitcoin and it uses institutional grade storage to custody it for people. And if you just think about how simple of a concept that is, and yet it solves so many challenges for investors. Let's walk through some of those challenges. So one, a lot of investors who want to get exposure to Bitcoin would have to create an account with the digital asset exchange. Now, many people have done that, and that's fine, but a lot of people maybe don't want so many financial accounts out there, right? Their bank information, their personal information, maybe they only want a couple of accounts. So they haven't gone so far as to open an account with the digital asset exchange. And if that was the case, they really had very few ways to get access to Bitcoin. So now with IBIT, if they have a just traditional brokerage account, now they can get exposure to Bitcoin through IBIT. The second thing is, even if you owned an account with the digital asset exchange and you're trying to buy Bitcoin, it can be very expensive to do so. Just the trading in and out can often be 50, 60 basis points each way for individual investors. It's kind of like going to the airport and trying to get like foreign currency. It's pretty expensive, and how it's charged is not very clear to investors. The third thing is, if you open the account, you trade it and you bought Bitcoin, and you just keep it in a hot wallet online, you still have this cybersecurity risk that someone could steal your account, get into your wallet, steal your Bitcoin, and it's gone forever. So really one of the big innovations of IBIT is that it's leveraging really institutional grade custody, which is not holding Bitcoin connected to the internet that can be hacked, but taking it offline and storing it in cold storage. That's a huge benefit to investors who really want kind of the highest grade custody solutions for Bitcoin. You've seen these stories of people storing Bitcoin on a hard drive and accidentally throwing it out, and there's now millions of dollars on that hard drive. I personally, I've been interested in Bitcoin for a while. I bought a hardware wallet for Bitcoin, and it was right around the time I was having my first child. So I had all these boxes showing up to my house, and I literally just lost that hardware wallet for a couple months. It was okay. I didn't have much on it, but it just shows even in your own house, you can lose this stuff and you lose all the value. So IBIT is solving a lot of challenges for a lot of investors. I would say the final point is that a lot of investors just want to see Bitcoin in the context of their whole portfolio. They don't want to see it over here on some other account where it's going up and down each day. One of the benefits of Bitcoin is that it's super diversified compared to something like stocks or bonds. So being able to see the ETFs, that own stocks, your bonds, your Bitcoin all together in one portfolio is really valuable to investors as well. So that is why IBIT has been so successful, raising over $80 billion in about a year and a half. It's because of all those solutions it's providing investors.
The ETF market is, it's a competitive market. There's plenty of firms that offer them. Specifically iShares, what differentiates you guys from all the other ETF providers?
I think it's three things: quality, breadth, and value. So quality, we have more ETFs around the world than anyone, over 1,300 globally. We have invested so much in building the greatest and best ETFs we possibly can through what we build within BlackRock, through the partners we choose to work with, through how our ETFs trade on the market. We are obsessive over quality, and that shows in the products that we've built. I think going back to iBit, a lot of people just trust. There's a lot of trust that we're going to manage their Bitcoin in the way that they want. The second is in breadth. So in the United States alone, we have over 450 ETFs. So if you're looking for dividend stocks, if you're looking for AI companies, if you're looking for Bitcoin, if you're looking for bonds, we have everything. We have virtually everything through those 450 ETFs, really giving people a ton of choice to build the portfolio that they want to build for themselves. And then third, I talked about value. We really like to leverage the scale that we have at BlackRock because we have so many funds, because we manage, trillions of dollars in assets. We can offer ETFs at very low fee points. So, you're getting good value when you buy an iShares ETF as well. So we have the quality, we have a ton of choice, and we offer that at a great price for investors.
What innovations in the ETF landscape do you guys think are going to come, or would you like to see introduced into the ETF market?
We've just seen so much innovation over the last few years. We talked about crypto being brought out into the ETF space. What we haven't talked about so much is active ETFs. A lot of the first few ETFs that came out, ETFs are now almost 30 years old or so. I guess they are 30 years old now. A lot of them track indexes like the S&P 500. There's no one deciding what stock they like or don't like. They're just going to buy all 500 stocks in the S&P 500, which is diversified, it's tax efficient, it's easy to trade, et cetera. But, it's just a kind of, very kind of simple basket of stocks. What's increasingly become popular in the ETF space is to have actively managed strategies, meaning there's a portfolio manager that is deciding what stocks they like and don't like. For example, we talked about AI a little bit. We have an ETF, BAI. It's managed by our tech portfolio manager at BlackRock, Tony Kim. He's scouring the world for which AI companies he likes the most, and he's building a basket of about 20 to 40 stocks of those AI companies. He's meeting with these companies on a regular basis. He's speaking with their CEOs at conferences, and he, is deciding which companies he likes the best for that portfolio. So I think this is a really good innovation for clients and for investors broadly, because as we get into some more nuanced corners of the market, whether it's AI, whether it's different option strategies that are generating income for investors, having that active manager being able to pick those allocations can be really helpful for investors.
So you spoke about AI a few times so far, and BlackRock, you guys are the largest asset manager in the world. Do you see a future where artificial intelligence is exclusively managing money for people? Like, there is no advisor, right? There is no strategy person that's actually going to meet with somebody in Saudi Arabia. Everything is done from a non-biased AI perspective that's managing trillions of dollars for people and pension funds and all over the world. But it's not a physical person. It's all AI.
No, I think the best version of this is going to be a hybrid solution where you still have humans that are managing relationships. We know investing can be emotional, it can be complicated. Having a human that can be behind it, explaining what's going on, helping you understand, coach you through the behavioral aspects of investing is going to be so valuable forever. I think on top of that, AI is a tool. It's like a calculator. A calculator is a tool. It made people better investors, but you don't just turn over your investing to a calculator blindly. You have to know how to use that tool. You have to know what the shortcomings of that tool is. You have to feed new data to that tool and understand which data is valuable and which data isn't valuable. In fact, at BlackRock, we've been using AI in our investing process for over a decade. We have a whole team called BlackRock Systematic Investing, which is a fancy way of saying they're quants that use a lot of data and have had AI on their, as a tool on their desk for a long time. But it's always going to be this blend between the human portfolio managers and that AI tool that's making them better and better investors. So I don't think we'll go full AI. I just think that tool is going to be very valuable and increasingly valuable over time.
Yeah, it is the conversation of this generation for sure. I wonder if there's a trend out there that might be under the radar that you see that most people aren't talking about.
Yeah, so one of the themes that we're very focused on right now, and maybe it sounds a little bit boring, but I guarantee it impacts every single person listening to this podcast, which is infrastructure. So we drive on roads, we turn on our laptops, our computers, we charge our phones, we drink water from the tap. All of that is infrastructure. And there's a couple of things that's going on in the infrastructure space. One, we've largely underinvested in it in the United States. So there's this firm out there called the American Society of Civil Engineers, and they give a letter grade, like a school grade, to our infrastructure every 4 years. And we got a C- this year, which is actually one of the best grades we've gotten in decades, and it's still not a very good grade. Wow. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've had growing populations. We just haven't spent a lot of money to build out the infrastructure we need. I'm sure a lot of people can sympathize with like sitting in traffic, blackouts in the summer, slow internet. All of that is just underinvestment in infrastructure. If you add on top of that the fact that goals across multiple presidencies now has been to reshore more manufacturing in the United States, which is super power hungry, requires a lot of power to build stuff, and super transportation heavy. You have to move all that stuff around the country once you build it. And you have the growth of artificial intelligence, which is incredibly power hungry. You start to realize that not only is our infrastructure not that good today, but the demands are only going to increase really quickly going forward. So this is an area that we've just been very focused on from a thematic lens, that something's got to shift here. There's got to be more investment. There's got to be improvements. We've got to rethink really what infrastructure looks like in the United States. There's no single bullet solution. It's going to be partly federal money. It's going to be partly state and local money. It's going to be private money. I just like to look around the New York area. So when I get to work every day, I take the 7-train subway to Hudson Yards. That was paid for mostly by local city money in New York City. If you live on the other side of Manhattan, though, you might be taking the 2nd Avenue train, which was paid for mostly by federal dollars from the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act. And if you're flying into JFK and the new terminal, Terminal 1, that's largely been paid for by private money. So there's all these different types of ways you interact with infrastructure and different sources of that funding. But that's a theme that we just think is going to be really powerful over the next decade because it's so fundamental to our everyday lives.
Yeah. On a personal note, given your time at BlackRock, what are like 2 of the biggest investing lessons that have stuck with you that you may not have shared with anyone before?
Wow, I've never shared before. I think it's important to continuously evolve your thinking about how you're investing. The markets are never one directional. Mm-hmm. I know it's easy to zoom out and look at these 100-year charts that make it just look like the markets go up over time, but things are changing. Risk is changing. We see these really quick sell-offs in the market that can be pretty severe. We've seen this shift from, kind of looking at the world through sectors, through increasingly looking at it through themes.
For sure.
We've seen the growth of options trading and what that means for how you can change the shape of your investments. What's your upside? What's your downside protection? What's the income you're getting from investments? So you just have to keep thinking about what is your goal? How are you going to get to that goal? And what are the tools that you have available? I'm just very pleased that we offer a lot of tools to investors to be able to help them achieve those goals. The second thing that I would focus on is we live in an age where there's so much news and the velocity of that news is so quick, and there's so much commentary on that news, which may or may not be high quality. So this is, maybe it sounds a little hypocritical because I just said you always have to evolve how you're thinking about investing. But I would caveat that with saying, keep your eye focused on the long term. Don't get too lost in the day-to-day. If you're getting lost in the day-to-day, it's tough. It is a very hard world to be investing in a day-to-day basis. One of the advantages any investor can have over the market is to take a longer term view. So you need to balance that, continue to evolve with taking a long-term view of the markets.
As far as retirement, what role should ETFs play in somebody's retirement?
ETFs can do so much for so many different investors. Think about if you're a young person right now, your goal might be more to grow your nest egg over time. So, it can be great to contribute money every month. And if you're going to be doing that, you're probably going to take on more risk and really be focused on growth opportunities through stocks. If you're a retiree, you're trying to live off the money you've saved. You want lower risk. You want higher income because those dividend payments can help pay your mortgage or pay for groceries or what have you. But there's ETFs for that as well. So ETFs can really service almost anyone with any financial goal, but the mix of ETFs that you use might look very different for those retirees, income ETFs, for people that want to grow their portfolio, maybe it's more equity ETFs. We came out with a really cool suite last year, or maybe 2 years ago now, called our Life Path ETFs. And what this does is it really takes that that kind of judgment out of how you think about those allocations for an investor. So basically what you do is you select the ETF with the target retirement date that's the closest to when you think you might retire. Unfortunately for me, that's going to be a while from now, but you look at like a 2060 ETF or 2055 ETF. And today it's going to be invested mostly in stocks because you want to be able to really grow. As you get closer and closer to that 2055 retirement date, it starts to change that allocation to be more focused on income ETFs. So it really just makes it very simple for investors over the long run to be able to shift their allocation to what it really should be for where they are in that retirement cycle.
Obviously, I mean, this is your career. I wonder how much time outside of the job you spend around investing in stocks, right? I feel like once you're doing this, everything you read just becomes your life. How much of this is consuming you on a weekly, daily basis?
It's funny. I was watching that show on HBO. What's it called? It's called The Pit or something, and it's like ER doctors. And I was asking a doctor how much he watches that show. I'm like, and he's like, I'm a doctor all day. I don't want to go home and watch something like surgery. I try not to think about it, but it's hard because all of these things are impacting our everyday life. It's like maybe I'm just a total nerd, but when I'm sitting in traffic, I'm like, yep, our infrastructure is terrible. Or you know, when I'm talking with friends, like a lot of friends are just talking about AI and how they're using it, and so it's hard to escape some of these things. On one hand, that's what's made my career so much fun, and why I think investing is just broadening out to so many people is because it is tangible now. A lot of these things that we're investing in, you really, you know, you're working at these companies, your friends that work at these companies are using their products. It's not just this, you know, really kind of like distant concept anymore. It's something that's really impacting our everyday lives. So I guess like the ER doctor that watches the show The Pit, I guess I'm kind of the guy that still thinks about these themes a lot in my outside of work hours.
Ian, can I just ask a follow-up really quick?
Of course.
I wonder, over the past, maybe it's definitely for us, over the past 5 years, has there been more of a concentrated conversation around investing than previous years in your career?
In terms of just kind of like more people asking about investing than ever before?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, we saw in the pandemic something like 40 million accounts opened, which was a lot of investors just opening an account for the first time to start investing. So that brought a lot of people into the investing world. And then on top of that, I do give a lot of credit to ETFs for making investing so much more accessible, that people can build a very good portfolio using ETFs and doing that on their own. So it's been in my view, it's been growing year after year after year. And then on top of that, you've got media like yourselves, like, you know, CNBC and Fox Business and all that are talking about these concepts every day. Yeah. You've got a ton of activity on social media where people are talking about investing as well. So I think the volume of discussion around investing has grown tremendously in the last 5 years as well.
For everyone who thinks they may have missed out on the AI trade, can you explain like how much bigger of a multiple this iteration of tech is in comparison to, let's say, the .com boom or maybe like the social media boom of post 2010? Like, I know, because when I talk to people, they're like, well, NVIDIA isn't going to give the same gains that it's gotten before, or they're looking to pile into AMD. But can you kind of give context around how much more growth we still have to go over the next decade for the space?
I mean, we often say we're only in the second or third inning of artificial intelligence, but as I was mentioning, there's these different phases, right? So if we're in the build out phase right now, that's why the semiconductor companies are so valuable. It's because it's an arms race. Everyone wants to get their hands on the leading chips. That's what you need when you're building data centers around the world. You need a lot of chips that are super powerful and expensive to be able to build out this digital infrastructure for AI. So semiconductors have been kind of the first big winners of AI. As we transition to enterprise adoption, more companies using AI in your day to day, that's when some of these large language model companies I think are going to do really well, because they've built these really smart models. Now they can charge people a lot of money for them. Right now, it's mostly been an expense for these companies. I mean, you hear these like numbers of like one company hiring an engineer for $100 million, and that's actually not even that expensive compared to the tens of billions they're spending on data centers. But soon they can start monetizing those models through enterprise adoption. And then if we go to that third phase, the transformation stage, we're going to see entire industries being built on AI that we've never even seen before. I like to kind of build an analogy to smartphones. Mm-hmm. So one of the sneakiest technologies that I think changed our lives in ways that is not appreciated was the shift from 3G technology to 4G technology.
Absolutely.
3G really only allowed you to text people. It took like 5 minutes to open a web page. If you tried to send someone a picture on your phone, it was horrible. I mean, this is the flip phone era, right?
Yeah.
As we moved to 4G, there's a reason why screens got so much bigger, because you can suddenly access the internet and you're no longer using your phone to text. You're using your phone as a portal to websites, to post photos online, post videos online, shop online. All of that was because 4G made it faster to do all of those things. It was really this kind of sneaky infrastructure layer that made everything so much better with a smartphone. But what did that mean? That meant that like rideshare companies could exist. That meant that online shopping companies could exist on your phone. That meant that you had all these new social media companies popping up. So what does that mean for AI? Well, once you see so much more AI adoption, we'll see companies popping up that we never even thought of that are just using AI as part of their product. Just like these companies on, these apps on your smartphone were using 4G technology and never would have existed until 4G came around. So I think that's what's super exciting, and why we think there's such a long runway here is because we haven't even seen those companies being built yet that will leverage AI in that way.
Well, I know in a few weeks we have a big event called InvestFest, and you guys are coming back for year 2. iShares, we definitely appreciate you guys coming. So what do you have in store? I know it's a couple of workshops that you're doing, but can you speak on your presence, how you're going to show up at InvestFest?
Looking forward to it. We've got 2 educational workshops on that Friday. So one is going to be focused more on retirement and how you can use ETFs to really kind of build for retirement, whether you're in that growing your nest egg phase, or if you're, already thinking about retirement and when you can start to kind of driving income from your portfolio as well. That will be one session. Another session, I know we've talked a lot about AI and crypto on this platform already, but we'll be digging into some of those themes that are really changing our everyday lives and what it means for investors. So both of those are on Friday at the event.
That's amazing.
There you have it. There you have it.
As a quick follow-up on the enterprise side, which companies, legacy tech companies, do you think will benefit the most from AI over the next few years? And which ones do you think maybe laggards and not adapt quickly enough?
So there's kind of 3 ingredients for artificial intelligence. One, you need a ton of money. You just need tens of billions of dollars. It's so expensive, or cheap access to money. The second thing is you need really smart engineers to be able to build these models. And the third thing you need is data. Ultimately, data is the fuel that makes these large language models smarter, more capable than ever before. So there's a reason why the Mag 7, the biggest tech companies in the world, are the leaders here, is because they have all 3 of those things. They have a lot of money, they have great engineers, and they have access to tons of data. With that being said, I think there's some companies that still might be more at risk of disruption. So if you don't have your own data, you're going to have to buy it from someone. And that means building AI is more expensive for you than for someone else. If your entire product is something that could be automated through AI, I think there's a lot of risk as well. A lot of companies just build very simple software that gets embedded in our everyday lives, and they get to charge a monthly fee. What if you can build that using AI, though, and you don't need that software anymore? That could suddenly really change some of these SaaS companies that have made a lot of money delivering software to enterprises.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a lot of winners, but there's going to be a lot of losers in tech too. And that's why you have to be really kind of thoughtful about how are you getting exposure to AI, because you can win and you can also lose in AI.
Roll with the winners. My last thing is, as you look at AI, obviously the advancements in it, there still needs to be protection. Your thoughts around defense AI, cybersecurity, and its importance in the next few years?
Well, basically, what I was just saying, basically the value of data is increasing with artificial intelligence. It's like oil suddenly became really valuable once we had automobiles. Right. So data becomes really valuable when you have artificial intelligence that can monetize that data in a way that it hasn't been done before. So if you suddenly have something that went from like being not that valuable to really valuable, you have to spend the money to protect it. it's like I don't know, you bought a house in a neighborhood that wasn't that great, and all of a sudden it just blew up as a neighborhood, and everyone's trying to move in. Maybe that's when you like think more about putting a camera on the front door, right? Because you've got a really expensive property now. It's the same thing with data, and we're going to see, I think, a commensurate huge amount of investment in cybersecurity for companies and governments that want to protect that data that's become so valuable.
Well, once again, thank you for your time, and ending on InvestFest. What, you being in the space, right? What does an event like that mean as far as giving exposure for retail investors to companies like yourself and others, and just having that wealth of information? Like, what's your thoughts on the importance of it?
I just think it's tremendous to have this opportunity to connect with investors. We spend a lot of time thinking about how we can deliver education at scale on our website, on Instagram, on X. But being able to be there in the room with people, to hear their questions, share our ideas, I just think it's a tremendous way to connect asset managers like ourselves with investors that are using our products.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one, Joe.
Take care. All right.
That was insightful.
There you have
great
it.
Conversation.
Yeah, that was great. It's one of those things where, again, when you talk about information, we do it every week here, and then you hear somebody from the industry that's actually doing it, just reconfirming the things that we've kind of been cementing over the past 6-7 years. So
yeah,
that was dope, man.
Yeah, I think it was insightful. A few things. You talked about target date funds. I've been saying that since the beginning, as far as investing in target date funds.
Absolutely.
I thought that it was very insightful how he broke the AI down into different stages, and paraphrasing, like, chips are winning now,
but it's going to be an adjustment. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's important to just keep in mind. Keep your head up and your eyes open, because there might be a whole new winner's circle in 4 years or 3 years or 2 years. Who knows?
And it again just reiterates kind of the theme, right? We've been calling it, I did a whole segment calling it the data center revolution, where yes, chips are running it right now, but infrastructure is important. Somebody has to build these data centers. Somebody has to build the racks. Somebody has to build the wiring for the connectivity to those. So infrastructure, I'm glad he brought that up, is somebody has to power it, which is why we talk about companies like Vistra, and we talked about CSG. These companies are going to play a role. Who's going to make the energy? Who's going to make it efficient? Those are the people that are going to lead. So yes, chips are winning, and the leaders will still be in the lead, but infrastructure is being built around that. We got to invest in those companies as well.
And if Apple don't acquire Perplexity,
I saw another report, man.
I saw a lot of people would get on me about that.
I saw another report.
Enterprise wave, when all the work is automated and it's agentic on every platform.
Yeah.
That I think that's going to be the greatest technology revolution of our lives, where we can have an idea and literally build the idea out and deploy it and have the company being ran automatically on the enterprise side. It's going to be the biggest revolution I think we've ever seen. I think it destroys or displaces a lot of the job market, and that have and have not layer is wider, but in terms of productivity, it's going to be nothing like we've ever seen.
And once again, I just got to hammer this home. Friday is so vitally important. Like, you have a company like BlackRock, who is the largest asset manager in the world.
Yep.
On the planet.
Right? Trillions of dollars of assets under management. They're doing 3 workshops on Friday. Vitally important
to be there.
This is not easy to get firsthand education from BlackRock,
from the source. People say they're the plug. No, they're the source. Like, it's than BlackRock, right?
And number one for a reason.
Yep.
So please, if you go into InvestFest, take it serious. Friday is a day of all day workshops, panels, and education. Miss Business doing a seminar, BlackRock doing a seminar, Fidelity's doing a seminar.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand why you would not be there for Friday. I get it. You might, get off work late, but sometimes in life you gotta make a sacrifice. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, just to give context, I don't know how long it took for them to work the relationship, but that's like some relationships you can't even pay for if you offer the money.
No, you're not getting in the building.
That's a fact.
You're not getting in the. You can't write a check for 150 and 150,000. Just get them to show up and tell you. He was even humble on not even mentioning Aladdin. Go Google BlackRock Aladdin. It's GPT for the market. Like, you do not want to miss those conversations and insights from them directly. I promise.
And this is coming from the top. I mean, he's the head of ETFs at BlackRock. It's not just a random, worker. So, I mean, he's saying, like, it's important for us to connect with the people, and this is a great opportunity and stuff like that. And this is what we have prepared. So if the head of ETFs at the largest asset manager in the world is talking directly to you, if you miss the opportunity, I mean, at some point in time, you got to look internally and just say, I'm not serious about my future.
Yeah. And the schedule is live. Plan. Go look at the schedule. Make it your business to figure out which seminars, which you're going to, right? Treat it like you would be going anywhere else. I know people go to Disney, they plan it out a week ahead, which events and which rides. This is even more important. Plan it out. You see it at 9 o'clock, I'm making at 9. This 10, plan it out. I don't care. No excuses. Show up. You're going to see us there. We'll be there. I'm trying to learn. You should be one.
You can get there early on Friday. If they need help setting up, a lot of relationships you'll be able to build just by being there early.
Yep.
30 minutes that you get to speak. Even like the people who worked at NVIDIA, we got to cultivate just by being there early.
Facts.
You'll be surprised how much that pays off, and just helping, being there early, and asking great questions.
Keith Lee is going to be in Friday. He's going to be speaking in the vendor marketplace on Friday.
That's crazy.
Might have heard of him.
He's changed people's lives.
A lot of businesses.
Sure. And there's a lot to learn from him from a branding standpoint, how to go viral, management of the success after, like you said, like, success leaves clues, but to be able to replicate something over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There's things, even if you're not a social media maven or group, there are things that you need to learn from different walks of life to implement into your business. If not, someone else is going to do it and you're going to be upset.
Unprecedented access that we have given to our community through the course of Market Mondays, Earning Legion, and Invest Fest. Like I said, I mean, these are people that it's not easy to get, billionaires to talk. It's not easy to get head of ETF at BlackRock, but thank you to BlackRock, good folks at BlackRock. But man, it's something that, should not be taken lightly. I'll say that. So with that being said, shout out to Miss Business. If you missed it, she's running a promo. She's modeling what Block did, first 100 attendees, general admission, and first 10 vendors. She's doing 50% off for the tickets. She's subsidizing 50%. All you got to do is go to investfest.com and enter code CPA. Certified Public Accountant. That's what CPA stands for. If you didn't know, CPA at checkout, and everybody that gets that promo will also get, I think it's an hour video that she did going over the big beautiful bill and going over how to save money for taxes for business owners in 2025.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what else can we do?
Nothing.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
That's a fact.
Go execute, hold for 10 years. And if you don't listen to these things, whatever outcome you get, you deserve it. Stock club prices are out in Red Panda. Like, enough talking, enough back and forth. No more back and forth. They're gonna go to Africa. I'm gonna go with them next time. Shawty, send me that link so we can be neighbors too. PH3. I'm gonna go to Mexico. Hold for the long term.
That's a fact.
Hold for all the problems to go away. Hold for the long term.
Please
what
do.
was BlackRock founded? 30 what? 31 or something like. Come on. Everything is about the long-term hold.
It's a fact. Big earnings week this week, y'all. We didn't forget. A lot of the ones in the portfolio will be reporting. Arista Networks will be reporting. Pfizer's reporting. AMD's reporting tomorrow. Supermicro is reporting. Uber, Shopify, Lilly. Lilly's having an interesting month. McDonald's reporting. Wayfair's reporting. It's a big earnings week. So pay attention to it. Pay attention to future guidance. This is one of those opportunities. If you see a pullback, like we've seen with Lilly, it's kind of been trading sideways over the past 6 months. This might be opportunity. You hear future guidance. If you believe there's strength there, then this might be an opportunity to get in long-term positions. So make sure you check the portfolios. And if you have used ChatGPT, use Claude. If you don't want to read earnings reports, throw it in there. Let them summarize it for you.
Right. Tell them the 10 highlights.
Tell them the points that exactly what you want. Earnings per share, whatever it is.
United Healthcare. I know you guys are restructuring. Restructure faster. Because if y'all get to 201 or something like that, 201.50, we're seeing some of the greatest companies in the history of America die in front of us. Intel is one of them. United Healthcare last year was at 630.
Yeah.
239. That is a precipitous decline. And for investors, that's not what you want to hold. And then also, too, there's a lot of awakening around the origin of the drugs and what materials are sourced, even for Ozempic and all that. Wegovy. Be mindful. A lot of people keep asking me, should you invest in United Healthcare? No. Like, it's, for me, maybe 150 at a generational price, but even here it's still too high. I wouldn't touch it.
I'm not touching it. We talked about it last week. I'm not touching it.
Mm-mm.
All right, y'all. It's been real. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love is love.
Love is love. Be good to each other. Reach out. Send a text message, a voice note, man. You never know what one piece of encouragement can do to somebody's life, man.
And also, we got the crypto episode 9:00 on Thursday. Make sure you check that out. All right, y'all.
When Rashad want to wrap it up fast, he's going to go meet another king.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Mom.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Happy birthday.
Love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to go meet with another dignitary.
That's a fact.
Wednesday, tap in, 10 o'clock. Don't play yourself. Reward yourself.